Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another webinar here on Staffing Hub. We're thrilled to have you all here today for how mobile-first staffing platforms are changing the game for agencies, improving the metrics that matter, sponsored by StaffUp. Before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions at all throughout the presentation, please drop those into the questions panel and we will address them at the end of the webinar. We will also be sending out the recording following the broadcast along with the slide deck. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Brian Wilson of StaffUp. Brian has been working in and consulting for the staffing industry for nearly 25 years. Formerly the North American Sales Director for JobAdder, Brian now heads up strategy for StaffUp. Having consulted with thousands of staffing firm owners throughout the years, he knows a thing or two about what separates the average from the exceptional. He and his company are on a quest to equip staffing firms with the tools they are going to need in order to compete in this modern age of work. Brian, take it away.
Please do put any questions you have over in the panel there, and if I can get to them as I'm doing the presentation, I'll try, but most likely what I'm going to do is try to get through these as efficiently as possible so we do have some time at the end to go over questions, because I do tend to get a lot sometimes when regarding mobile stuff. So with that said, I'm going to turn off my camera and put that information front and center. So the topic for today, as we all probably know, is mobile-first staffing platforms, right? How are they changing the game for agencies, improving the metrics that matter? And that is probably the longest title for a webinar you may have ever seen, but it was the best one I could come up with to really illustrate what we want to talk about here today, right? So just for some really quick background, again, my name is Brian Wilson. I work with a company called StaffUp App. I've been in the industry now for I guess almost 25 years. It's crazy to say. I got my first job in staffing in 1998 when I was 17 years old, working as a sourcer. And if any of you on the phone were working in the industry at that time, especially in IT staffing, you probably know that just about anybody, including a monkey, could probably pick up a phone and make six figures in this business, right? It was right before the tech bubble was about to burst. So I got kind of a weird, distorted view of what it takes to be successful in staffing. And, after 2 years, tale as old as time in our industry, I knew everything there was to know about the staffing industry. So I branched out on my own at the ripe age of, 20 years old and started my first staffing agency and, got all my first clients, and then boom, the bubble burst, right? So I spent the next 5 years just struggling, reinventing myself, trying all the different industries to find that niche, and luckily was able to pull it together. Sold my first agency in 2005. Flash forward, really started working on the technology vendor side in 2012 for a small ATS company based out of Dallas. Most recently, I headed up the North American team for JobAdder here in North America. And then working with StaffUp App as a partner, I saw the potential of where the industry was going, what the app was doing, and that's why I'm here today, heading up our strategy. So want to share some of that insight that I've had working with thousands of different recruiting and staffing leaders throughout that time, and I hope it provides some benefit to you guys here. So just a little disclaimer as well. Oops. First time doing a slide deck, So the agenda for today is to first talk about the why. Why would we be investing in a mobile app and a mobile strategy in general, right? Kind of create that sense of urgency into why this is very important right now. Then we're going to talk about the how, right? If we want to actually implement a mobile strategy, how do we do that? What's the best way to do that? And what should be included in that mobile strategy, right? Like, what does that even mean, a mobile strategy? So we'll talk about that a little bit more. I do have some live examples I can share with you as well. But like I said, I want to leave some time at the end for a Q&A so we can hopefully get into some of those questions. And yeah, part of this is demo-ish, right? So if you're not okay with that, here's your warning right now that there will be some stuff specifically related to StaffUp App, because believe it or not, my competitors don't like to share their information with me. So all this is coming from data and research we've done along our own clients and their successes with what we've helped them implement. Okay, so with that said, technology is great. Mobile platforms are great, all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not really the technology that matters. It's the metrics, right? It's what this technology is enabling us to do. So a good mobile staffing platform, a good mobile strategy should be helping you increase the metrics that matter. And when I talk about the metrics, I'm talking about applications, right? Getting more applications into your funnel, right? Right now, the majority of recruiting and staffing companies out there, their candidates are coming from, job boards. They're coming from direct sourcing initiative, things like that. How can a mobile strategy actually help you increase applications in other ways? We'll talk about that. How do we get more referrals? A lot of staffing companies have referral programs. They struggle to implement those and make them sustainable. So a good mobile strategy can help with that. How do we increase our completed onboardings, right? How do we reduce those drop-offs? How do we make sure we get people through that critical stage of the process faster and in a happier fashion? How do we fill jobs faster? How do we collect that time much easier and approvals from our clients much easier? How do we automate most of that and make it easy on both our clients and our candidates, right? Ultimately really leading to getting paid faster, getting our candidates paid faster, et cetera. And we want to decrease the drop-offs that are happening, right? We want to decrease the amount of no calls, no shows that you guys are having on some of these placements, and really decrease some of that manual BS that you have to deal with. A good mobile strategy in the end will make happier workers, happier recruiters, happier clients, and hopefully a happier bottom line as a result, right? I don't know what I'm doing here, but each time I hit pause, the thing slides out. So I don't know if you guys know or not, but we live in a mobile first world. So show of hands, everybody on the call right now, who has a mobile phone in their pocket or nearby, right? Okay, I can see. Okay, I can actually see anybody on the call, obviously, but I would venture to guess that 90% of you raised your hand saying that you've got a mobile phone, you use it quite often, and probably the 10% that didn't raise their hand are too busy looking at their mobile phone right now to pay attention to the webinar, right? The average person spends about 3 hours and 15 minutes per day on their mobile phone. And if you work in the staffing industry, it might be flipped around, right? Maybe you only spend 3 hours and 15 minutes not on your mobile phone each day. I don't know. But that's a huge statistic, right? And it's only growing. So if I pull up the next slide here, this little graphic is showing you the percentage of a whole of internet traffic in the United States. So out of all of the internet traffic there is, we're talking, computers, mobile devices, what it is, close to 55% of that is done on mobile phones, right? So way more than half is being done from the mobile phones. But more importantly than that, of that time spent in the mobile apps, 90% of it, or on the internet, excuse me, 90% of that is spent in mobile apps rather than a browser. So most people are accessing the web through their mobile phones, but they're not opening up Chrome, they're not opening up Safari, they're not doing that, right? You can probably attest to this, anybody on the line now, you're not opening up Chrome and doing, all of your work there, right? You're opening up mobile apps, you're using most of that time, and the reason that you do that is because it's a much better experience than using like a browser on your phone, for example, right? And this trend is only increasing. By 2025, 72% of all internet users will solely use smartphones to access the web. That's 3 years from now, you guys. This is, if you got a kid in middle school, this is before they transition to high school. If you got a kid in high school, this is before they graduate and go on to college, right? This is not like a long time away, right? We just had a pandemic that took 3 years off our life, and that was like a blink of an eye, right? So, or maybe an eternity, depending on how you look at it. But this is happening faster than you think. So if you think of these stats and how many people are using mobile phones as a primary communication device, it's just one quick insight into why the world has moved to this. And why does it matter, right? The traditional tools we're using right now to communicate with our workforce, our clients, we're talking email, we're talking documents, we're talking spreadsheets, all these things. If you're sending out, onboarding documents with an email and your onboarding docs attached to that email, how does that work on a mobile device, right? If I'm using the mobile device most of the time, do I need to go find a computer to complete my onboarding? Do I need to pinch and zoom in order to view that document that you sent me? Yes, that's exactly what you have to do if you're doing it from a mobile device. So we need to change the user experience for people and meet them where they want to be met, right? They're demanding it. not only your candidates, but also your clients. They're demanding this fully digital and mobile optimized experience. And I liken it to, you know, refusing to adopt email in the late 90s, right? Oh, this is a passing trend. You know, nobody's going to keep using this email stuff, right? And we know how that all went. And it's the same with mobile, but the bell curve is much, much steeper. Okay. So the big kids know this, right? If you guys aren't already aware, you know, huge companies out there have been investing in mobile apps for years. And as I take you through the next few slides, pay attention to some of these screenshots of the mobile apps, right? We're not talking about just, hey, let's find jobs and apply for them, right? This is everything that a staffing agent needs to do in a mobile digitized experience, right? We're talking about contract or placement data. We're talking about timekeeping. We're talking about communications. We're talking about access to our paychecks on a weekly basis, right? The big kids have been investing in this for a long time now, and only continue to do so, right? And it's in every industry. It's not just blue collar. This is in professional industries and really specific niches all over the board. And it's not just staffing companies, not just the big staffing companies out there, right? There's other people that are aware of this as well. Technology companies, right? Tech investors know this. Instawork recently raised $60 million for a total of $100 million to come in and try and eat our lunch, right? And they're doing this through a mobile app. Not just Instawork, JobGet has recently raised $52 million to do the same thing, right? They're not driving people to their website to have a better experience on the website and you know, a better career search experience on the website. They're doing this primarily through the use of mobile apps. Job and Talent, $500 million to come directly after the staffing agency, all through the use of a mobile app, right? So just kind of let that set in a little bit. It's not just the big companies, it's technology companies, and it's a whole slew of other ones. I think you guys might have seen the acquisition of Blue Crew by Employbridge recently, right? I want to read Billy Millam's quote here. Our clients and talent increasingly expect a seamless digital experience, and with the addition of Blue Crew, we will immediately accelerate our technological transformation to capture this growing demand while creating a flywheel to drive growth in the other areas of our business, right? It's a transformational type thing. So this is combining the two, a tech company being acquired by industry, right? And just as kind of a last drive the point home, this is just a very, very small sampling of other companies out there that are really investing in mobile and having great success doing it here. Look at the ratings here. All of these companies have on the downside or on the low end, 10,000 up to millions of downloads each. And these are all staffing plays, okay? So coming back to that analogy, if we're not investing in email in the late 90s, we are missing the boat here, right? Another way to look at it is, what if Uber came to your marketplace and you were Lyft? If you ask people to go to a website or come into a branch location in order to hail a taxi, who are they going to use first, right? What experience is that candidate going to use if they've got an app in their pocket with one agency and a website or a branch location they need to go in to work with the other one, right? One thing all these companies have in common is that user experience, right? Again, this is not about the technology per se. It's about creating that experience that people are demanding. They are used to this now. And if they're getting an email from you for onboarding with, you know, documents attached and hello sign and pinching and zooming, it is not the same experience they're experiencing with all of these other companies that have already been doing this, right? It's how workers want to interact with the world. So the rebuttal that I get sometimes from companies is, but our workers aren't that super tech savvy. We're not sure, you know, a mobile strategy is right for us right now. And if you guys have seen this Zoolander movie before, you kind of get the picture here. I get it. You know, I understand some of the workforce might be not as mobile friendly as others, but if we're planning for the boomers and the people that are not digital natives, we're not planning for the future of our business, right? The boomers are really the only remaining working generation that are not digital natives. And I don't know about you, but my son's grandma and things like that, she spends more time on her mobile phone than I do. So this is increasingly becoming not a very good argument to make, right? And the one thing that I know that we can't do is make decisions about our business based on the small percentage of candidates that you know, aren't quote unquote tech savvy. That's just kind of bananas, right? Our job is to help educate them, right? Offer incentives to get them to the place where they need to be to help them get better work. And just saying, hey, you don't need to get with the program is not a good way of doing that, right? The one thing you can't do is risk the future of your business by catering your approach to the worst workers out there while sacrificing the ability to attract and retain the best, right? So if we're saying we're not implementing a mobile strategy because some of our worst or hardest to deal with workers aren't getting it, well, then you're just really, what you're doing is saying, well, we're not catering to the people that we do actually want to retain and attract, and those are the best candidates in the market, right? So with that said, I want to move on to a quick poll before we move on. So Hillary, I think you said you can help me with this. We're going to put up a poll over to everybody listening on the right here, and I want to ask a quick question. So you might have seen a little thing pop up over on the right where you can fill in a poll. So go ahead and try to find that. But the question here is, how often do you, meaning the person listening to this right now, use your bank's mobile app versus going into your local branch? Is it 100% of the time? Is it 75% of the time, 50%, 25, 0? Do you always go into the branch every time you need to do anything that has to do with banking? I'm very curious about that. So we'll give you guys a minute or so to answer that. I know personally for me, I can't remember the last time I went into a physical branch location to do my banking. It was probably before the pandemic for sure, but today I can do deposits, I can do transfers, I can communicate with my bank, I can even open up loans and lines of credit and things like that, all from the mobile app without ever having to go into a local branch.
All right, Brian, it does look like most of you have already voted. If you have not, get those last second submissions in. I'm also with you, Brian. I cannot remember the last time I went into my local branch for anything. So, okay. So these results should not surprise you. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now and bring up the results.
Okie dokie. Let's see here. Where would I see that?
So it does look like the poll results were 100% of the time, over half of you responded with that. And then 75% or more of the time, 28% of you said that. For 50% or more of the time, 17% said that. And then we had a 0% for 25% and 0%. So, you know,
so it's safe to say that almost everybody said above 50, huh?
Most people said 100%, and you know, 50% or more of the time, 17%, 75% or more of the time was 28%. So, but our entire audience here uses it at least half the time.
Awesome. Well, just to kind of drive that point home, you know, the American Bankers Association also did a poll of, you know, tens of thousands of people and asked them that same kind of question. And you can see here both pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, the amount, you know, this is both online and mobile. The vast majority is through mobile, but then the rest of that is online, right? Only, you know, 10% of people now these days are using branches, right? So why am I talking about banking in the middle of a staffing webinar, right? It's to draw a comparison between kind of the old world of the physical locations with banks, because staffing firms were very much similar, right? A lot of us have multiple branch locations. Most of what we did was that foot traffic, you know, get them in through the door, those kind of things. All the different services we offered, much like banks, were physical, but staffing is still catching up to that, right? In terms of how do we, like banks, transition to offering the services we traditionally did in local branches, but through more of a mobile, a remote-based strategy, right? So think about that a little bit. What services did you provide on site? You know, what replaces your physical location? How do you adapt in that mobile-first world, right? And what banks have done is they've created good, you know, websites, obviously, but they've also created extremely simple and easy to use mobile apps. So what's a staffing agency to do? I think everybody probably is already along with me here. It's all about investing in that mobile app in the same way that banks have done to fuel their success, right? So the mobile app can replace and or supplement your physical location, drive that brand awareness, top of funnel activity, but really help you streamline and automate everything you do now or that you did in those physical locations and make it mobile friendly and mobile first, right? It's kind of like putting a website with superpowers into the pocket of every one of your workers, right? So what should a mobile app include? Right? If you look here at this diagram, it's really helpful to kind of explain all the things that would go into a mobile app, right? That with your agency's branding. So at the center is you. It's your mobile app. This is your mobile branch, if you will, right? So starting in the top right-hand corner, the first thing it should be doing is helping you drive applications, right? How do we not replace necessarily in the beginning, but supplement our job board ad spend? So how are we driving more and more candidates to apply with us directly versus having to spend money with the job boards to maybe get the same candidates we've already worked with in the past, but having to pay for those same candidates twice? So like re-engaging, reutilizing the the stable of candidates, if you will, that you've already worked with in the past, right? So driving those top of funnel metrics. A good mobile app should help you drive your referral strategy through smart notifications, through automations, through encouragement to have more people actually use the app to refer people to you, right? After that, once we've got people engaged, once they've applied for that app, we want to get them on board. How do we do that quickly and efficiently? How do we get them onboarded, right? How do we do it by reducing mistakes? How do we automate some of the tedious tasks like I-9 verification, WOTC reporting, et cetera? And again, how do we keep them in that one location without having to move to a different platform to do that? Filling shifts, right? This all comes back to communication, but how do we quickly communicate with our workforce that we have, hey, 7 available opportunities tomorrow in this warehouse? How do we quickly reach out to those people, quickly get confirmations, and then quickly deploy them on site? Once they're on site, how do we actually get them to log their time? How do we ensure that they're doing it from the right location? Can we enforce GPS rules? These are things that you can only do with a mobile platform, right? Because you have those unique technologies available through their smartphone, right? Another thing that always happens at your branch locations is talking to a recruiter, right? I just need to talk to somebody. Maybe I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need some questions answered, etc. So your mobile app should also replace that aspect of the communication aspect that you could do at a branch, right? Can I talk to somebody back and forth? It should be a seamless, easy to use experience. And again, all of this, if you drive getting the app into your workers' pockets, every single one of these things and more is possible through a mobile app, right? So that's kind of the brass tacks in terms of like features and functions that you should be striving to do through mobile. Now, this other graphic kind of helps to explain it a little bit, right? You've got all these different apps that you're using today, maybe Word and Excel and PDF for onboarding, sending those via email. Maybe you're texting or using WhatsApp with your candidates. That's disjointed, not connected to your ATS. Maybe you got payroll information or logins. Maybe you got timesheets, etc. All these are disjointed systems, right? That you're trying to kind of consolidate, but we can suck all that into a single platform that makes that user experience so much better for the candidates and the clients that you're working with. So how would you do that? How would you go about creating a mobile app? There's actually a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to go over a few of those options. The first option is you could build it yourself, right? That means that you go out, you find a development company. This is what a lot of the larger companies are doing, like your Randstats and your Decos of the world, right? But these companies got a lot more money in the bank that they might want to throw around, right? It's a long and expensive task. So if you think about if it took you 1 year with a single developer, we all know how much developers get paid. We'll call it on average $150,000 a year. Even if all you needed was one developer to build a mobile app, you're looking at a minimum investment of $150,000 to get started, but it's going to take you a lot more than that. You're going to need a few developers. You're going to need quality assurance. There's a lot of more expenses that go into it. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to build out a mobile app. If you're a large organization, that investment very well might be worth it, right? The other avenue to go through is ATSs. There's a number of ATSs out there that are starting to invest in mobile, right? So these are typically in the form of, hey, we've got XYZ ATS that has a mobile app. And what you need to do is ask your candidates to go down and download the ATS app from the marketplace. And then once they do, they can enter a code or something like that. And then that app will be kind of semi-branded in your agency's information. It will allow you to do some of these features and functions, but who owns that brand recognition? That's the ATS, right? So it's going to be harder for you to go on your website and social channels and promote the app and say, hey, download this ATS app and then enter our code. It's a little bit harder from especially a top of funnel perspective to kind of own that brand and own that experience, right? Long term, I personally don't think it's the best approach. The other option is to partner with a white label mobile staffing platform. And so that really is kind of like the best of both worlds. It's somebody that's already created an app with the features and functions you need integrated with the ATS, but you own that brand completely, right? So just kind of doubling down on that. And yes, I am biased. I work for a company that makes white labeled mobile apps, but this is your brand, right? There's no mention of an ATS or anybody else in the App Store when candidates go to download this. When they have the app, there's no mention of anybody but yourself. It's already fully integrated with your ATS or the systems that you use. So it shouldn't affect your recruiting teams day to day. Everything they need to do should be from that ATS. And it's a SaaS model, right? So there's not a huge upfront investment. There's no long-term commitments. If it doesn't end up working out for whatever reason, you can cut ties without investing hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, right? And of course, you can even implement that in stages for a maximum ROI. There are a few different companies out there that do white label. Staff of App is one of them. There's one or two others out there as well. So definitely worth researching a little bit more on that side. Again, driving the point home, it should be your app, your branding, not somebody else's branding. That's really the key to creating that user experience that you want to create, right? There's a few more quick examples here. So I want to give you guys some real world examples here of just what some typical processes you might deal with right now could look like from a mobile optimized experience, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick little video of how a mobile first onboarding experience can look like. We're going to start off with a very simple form, like a direct deposit form. So I want you to think about how you currently collect direct deposits from your candidates. You know, is that an email with a document attached? Maybe you're using a little bit more modern of a system to where they're, it's a DocuSign or something like that, and they're still pinching and zooming from their phone. And let me show you what it can look like from a fully mobile optimized experience here, right? So worker gets a notification on their phone, hey, it's time to complete your onboarding. It takes them to a nice, very simple to use list, right? Starting with a direct deposit form, keeps them informed along the way. And now what you'll notice is there's no document to fill in or anything like that. What we're doing is we're actually connecting through an API called Plaid that lets them connect to their bank directly, right? So most people already know their username and password to their bank, but what they don't know is their routing number. They don't know their checking account number, right? They're going to have to go and search for this, and they're probably on their phone. They're probably eating lunch right now. So in the time that's taking me to explain to this, what we've done is we've connected to their bank, and then here, as I pause this, you'll notice the form has pre-filled the information that we need for the direct deposit: their routing number, their account number, their bank number. We have reduced a long and tedious process to them having to fill in a single field, which is their social security number and a signature, right? So this is a very simple example of just one document to be collected in terms of an onboarding process. Similar things should be done from a mobile perspective with regards to the I-9, right? They should be able to use that mobile phone wherever they are as they're completing that document to take a picture of their driver's license or their forklift driver's license or whatever and upload that directly into your system, again, without having to go search for that information, figure out a way to scan it and attach it to an email or those kind of things. So just an example there, one of a mobile optimized experience for onboarding. Let's take the timesheet workflow as another example, right? How do you guys currently request your candidates to fill in timesheets? Is it an email they get that they click a link? That'd be like an ideal world, right? Probably the most advanced a lot of people are dealing with. Are you asking them to go to your website and download an Excel form and then send that into you every single week? How does that look? Let's look at maybe what a mobile optimized experience should look like instead, and the benefits you would have from a mobile app, right? So I've already applied for the job through the mobile app. I've already referred some friends. I've already done all of my onboarding through the mobile app. And now, after I've got my notification to go on site, I'm filling in my time from that same mobile app, right? So in this example, a worker's filling in a daily timesheet here. There's lots of ways you could probably configure this. But instead of downloading a document, pinching and zooming, attaching it to an email, I'm just clicking a button. Hey, I've showed up to work. I'm clocking in. A good mobile app will allow you to set up GPS fences. So it makes sure that the worker logs in from the location that they're at, right? If they can't, log into work if they're not actually at work. Same thing if they can't log out from work if they're not actually at work. So it reduces a lot of those buddy punching type scenarios or those kind of things, right? But really just, again, make it dead simple for your candidates on how to do that. I'm going to flash forward. You can enable the communication between your worker and your client, right? Because once this timesheet is submitted, how does a manager now approve that time, right? Does the worker have to go up and ask for that, or can we fully automate that solution, right? So a manager should be able to go in and do the same type of thing: review timesheets, approve timesheets, reject those timesheets, whatever that happens to be, right? That should all be done in one seamless, easy to use experience. All right, so let's go ahead and stop that here. Excuse me. Fumbling around with my technology, folks, I apologize. So bringing it back again to that technology, there's a lot of other examples I can show. I don't want to go endlessly in here. We can say that for another time, but all of this enables the metrics that we want to get, right? Increasing applications, referrals, onboarding times, getting paid faster time to fill, more redeployments, happier employees, and a happier bottom line. I want to give you one final graphic here just to kind of illustrate the whole journey candidates should be taking with a mobile app. And again, just think about the journey that your candidates currently have to go through, right? So when we talk about the step one, right, a mobile app is going to help you with that brand recognition, that top of funnel candidate nurturing, getting more applications for less money into your funnel, right? Driving those applications and referrals through the app, through smart notifications, through smart nurturing, et cetera. Once those candidates complete applications, quickly moving them into an onboarding phase, right, and getting those onboardings completed quickly. Moving down that candidate journey into effortless deployment and scheduling, right? Whether you guys are doing shift-based work, whether you're doing more long-term assignments or contracts, how do we convey that information to the candidates quickly and easily? How do we then collect their time quickly and easily? How do we get that approved from the client? And then how do we put them right back up that escalator coming back into getting redeployed? Right? With a mobile app, it's going to allow candidates to say, hey, my assignment's coming up to an end. What's the next assignment I want to go through, and start that cycle over again, right? So just think about your own journey and how that works right now. What happens at the brand recognition phase and these other phases? Are those disjointed? Are you first asking them to go to Indeed or ZipRecruiter or maybe your website and apply? Then are they coming here? Do they know how easy it is to give you referrals, or is that like a separate email or text message you might need to send? And will your recruiters remember to do that? After that, how's onboarding happening? Is that another system, right? Are they being sent an email? Are they being going into DocuSign? Is it another platform they need to create a different username and password for, right? Then with scheduling, is that manual? Is that phone calls and emails and text messages? Or is that just something simple through a mobile app, right, where they can just get that all in one thing? Again, time collection, redeployments, all that stuff. Are these all disjointed systems that your recruiters and staffing professionals are having to manage and hopefully not accidentally forget a step? I hope to paint the picture of how consolidating that into a single platform can really help improve that. I'm going to give you finally just a few quick stats that we've collected from our own clients. This might be similar with other platforms out there that do similar things, and then I want to go into Q&A after that, guys. So on average, our clients, at least staff up clients, are receiving 55% or more of all of their candidate applications from their mobile app. That means they're getting more applications from boards like ZipRecruiter, Indeed, etc., at a substantially lower cost. So just let that sink in. If you are struggling with getting applications, you might want to consider a strategy like this. Referrals. If referrals aren't your number one source of candidates, please work on that this year, whatever you end up doing, because those are the best kinds of candidates, right? On average, our clients are increasing the referral rates by 34% after implementing a program like this, because it's automated, right? Again, it's in that central location. It's not something else we have to remember to let our candidates and workers know about. And onboarding, we are decreasing the time it takes to complete employer onboarding by 50 to 80% on average. And we're doing it through a superior candidate experience. So that's huge. There's a lot more metrics I can share. I don't want to just kind of keep going on and on about that. But instead, what I'd like to do is we can go into a Q&A here if we'd like. I'm happy to answer people's questions just about the presentation or mobile staffing platforms in general. And if there aren't a bunch of questions, I'd be happy to give just a very brief overview of an example of just what a real mobile app works like. I can actually share my screen and kind of take you through a quick features and functions as well. So let's go to that, Hillary.
Yes, thank you, Brian. I do have a couple of questions for you here to address before you get into that. The first one is, does the app offer an option to switch to Spanish?
Yeah, great question. Our app does, yes. So that's a great question. A lot of people are working in different markets where they've got a diverse workforce, right? So yes, in Staff Up app, your worker has the ability to choose whether or not that's in English or Spanish. Absolutely. And we're actually introducing more languages for the folks in Europe right now too.
Excellent. And then the second question for you is, what kind of an ROI can we expect with something like this?
Oh, that's always the question, is it? Give me the hard one there, Hillary. So ROI is a little bit subjective for each agency, right? So what we do is when we work with clients, we do have a like kind of an ROI calculator, so to speak, that we can go through it with you. But at the end of the day, the metrics that go into that ROI first depend on what your metrics look like today, right? How quickly are you actually getting people to apply? How quickly are you getting them through those onboarding processes, the time collection, et cetera? But we measure that in terms of hours saved and the current expenses you save with that, right? So just to kind of paint a picture, let's say that you have 2 recruiters on your team, right? And you need to hire another one because you can't keep up with the load, right? There's too much manual work. The average salary of a candidate that you hire might be, we'll just call it $50,000, right? With the implementation of an app like ours, in each area of the app, we can be saving you between 10 to 30 hours per week per 50 candidates or 50 workers, if you will. So what that means is that just by implementing an app, you wouldn't even necessarily need to hire another person to deal with that staff, saving you $50,000 right out of the gate. Now, our app does not cost anywhere close to $50,000. So what we do with clients is we understand, again, just kind of what's an hour worth to each one of your employees, your internal employees. How much time can we help you save that? And we do that through a calculation, again, of how many timesheets processed, how many onboardings you do, and we can give you a pretty accurate number. But in terms of like what you spend on the app, we're in the hundreds of percent in terms of ROI versus money spent. So I hope that answers the question. I know it's a little bit ambiguous because it's a little bit different for every firm, but we can give you kind of your own calculation.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. That was the last question that we had for you here today. So I'm going to pass it back over to you and ask you to share whatever you have left to share with the audience here.
Okay, good. Well, I didn't want this to be a very long presentation, but I had hoped to show you guys a little sneak peek of terms of what a real mobile app could actually look like. So just give me 1 second here. I'm going to try to pull up my screen here. Are you seeing my phone here, Hillary?
Yes, I can see it just fine.
Okay. So I've got a lot of our clients' mobile apps already on my phone here. I'm just going to go into an actual um, kind of a dummy app, if you will, just one we use for demo purposes. But the fun part about a mobile app is that it should be completely branded to the staffing agency that's using it, right? So when we look at this in this fictitious company called Industrial Pro Staffing, we've got their logo, we've got their colors. When the candidate comes into the app, they immediately know who they're working with without having to enter any special codes or those kind of things, et cetera. Now, I'll get to these tiles that you're seeing on the here in the on the main app, but first I'm going to click on the profile icon in the top right-hand corner. So when a candidate first downloads the app, they can complete a profile, but we do not require them to do that. And there's a good reason behind that, right? Because what you want to do is you want to get your app in the pocket of everybody that you work with, be they current candidates, workers, or prospective candidates, because this becomes a marketing powerhouse for your company, right? You can send out push notifications, things like that. So while you might have, say, 500 people with registered profiles on your app, you could have thousands of people that have downloaded the app that you can use as a communication medium, right? So you can send messages directly to people in the app. We talked about sending smart notifications about joining referral programs, about career fairs, about anything you might want to communicate to your audience right through the mobile app. And again, without them even having to have a profile in that system or on the app itself. The ability to make referrals directly from the app itself, right? So we integrate directly with the contact system on your phone. So if I want to make a referral, I can quickly grab that contact directly from my phone, pre-fill the information, hit a button to make that referral. And what happens is that you'll notice it opens it up in my texting platform, right, and pre-fills this information. So it's very important that the referrals that your candidates are sending come from the candidates themselves and direct them to wherever you want them to be directed to, right? If this is coming from a generic number like XYZ staffing or what have you, you're gonna have a lot less adoption when it comes to getting those referrals, right? So driving those referral programs up. Integration with your ATS of choice, right? So every time somebody enters a role into the ATS, that job should automatically show up into the mobile app. It should automatically notify candidates that are a good fit for that, and it should drive applications back into the ATS, right? Have I applied for this role already? Have I not? Can I view that role and see if it's right for me? I can apply for that role directly, right? I can upload resumes. I can update my profile. If it's not good for me, but I know somebody it's a good fit for, I can refer this position directly to a friend right from that job as well. Even the ability to use the unique aspect of mobile apps to have things like videos or things like that, right? Oh, you guys just got rickrolled. You guys would have an actual, recruiter talking about the facility or the client or what have you to really help drive those applications up. Your candidates can create, smart alerts. So if they want to get notified of specific jobs that they might not know, et cetera, right? Career resources, access to your different branch information, all that stuff should be front and center and customizable in that app, right? We talked about onboarding, being able to complete all the onboarding directly from the app itself so they don't have to leave that. I gave you an example of a direct deposit form, but maybe we need to collect a driver's license or a forklift driver's license or a certification from a nurse or those kind of things, right? I should be able to use the mobile app instead of going find that and using a scanner or that kind of thing. I can use the unique abilities of a mobile app to quickly grab my driver's license information or what have you. That's my card, not my driver's license, but you guys get the idea. And then when I hit agree, it should upload that driver's license directly into the ATS, right? So we've got that good to go. Lots of other examples how you can kind of optimize for mobile from that perspective. Doing our timesheets and those kind of things, being able to submit and update the time directly from the app. So any of the communication you're doing, sending smart notifications, et cetera, should all be done right there. So there's a lot more to show here. I don't, this is obviously not a full demo. I just wanted to give everybody kind of a brief overview of what could be expected. And one more kind of quick example, just how you can really brand that in different ways for different companies, right? Maybe you want this to be password protected, totally up to you. But just how that can change depending on what your brand is. And you notice these are true apps in the App Store. No mention of an ATS or anything like that, right? All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us today. Always really good to have you. Keep an eye on your inbox for the recording of the event in the slides, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks again,
Thank you for your
Brian.
time, everybody.